always outspoken, never reserved. It's the PJ Fleck Show with Hobie Artigue, Ron Johnson, and Justin Gard. Let's roll the boat.
State Fair edition of the PJ Fleck Show, where we are exactly 1 week away from what many Gopher football fans call the most wonderful time of the year. Welcome to the Great Minnesota Get-Together as we get together for one more season, guys, alongside head coach PJ Fleck, former Gopher receiver Ron Johnson, KFAN's Justin Gard. I'm Hobie Artigue. Thank you very much for joining us for yet another edition of the PJ Fleck Show. And, Coach, you already got State Fair food in your hands. You've been walking around.
Yeah.
What's kind of the vibe that you're getting from Gopher fans now as you take over for year two?
I think everybody's very positive. You know, one thing, we're very honest with our fans, let us know exactly where we are in the program, and they know we're going to be young, very inexperienced, but very talented at the same time. Everybody's very positive around here, just wants to talk, communicate. They want to talk about the quarterback situation, obviously. But no, everybody seems to have a great time.
Well, yeah, let's get the tough question out the way. Zack Annexstad is now the quarterback. Tough decision. You said one of your hardest decisions ever. Why Zack?
Well, anytime you have to choose between a freshman and a freshman, right, there's no proof, right? So you're choosing a quarterback based on no performance on the field and nothing that you can sit there and judge on the field. So it's really a hypothesis. It's the best guess in terms of which one's ready the most. But I could have picked either one of them, I'll be honest with you. I mean, either one. Tanner won the job. Zach won the job. It's just when I started looking at the statistical part of through spring ball, through camp, Zach had a little bit of an edge. And as a head coach, you've got to be able to make that tough decision. But I know this, if Tanner gets an opportunity to go in the game, he's going to be just fine.
No matter which way you went, it was going to be a freshman. They were going to be unproven. There's a lot you don't know. So I'm curious, how do you measure the progress, really, of either one of them from January, but also now when you start with Zach, how will you measure, okay, he's starting to get it, he's starting to get better?
Well, they've really both made a ton of progress since spring. You know, when we started training camp, they were making mistakes, but they were making 400-level mistakes, not 100-level mistakes. They don't play like freshmen. They don't act like freshmen. We're giving these guys an opportunity to lead, again, with zero performance. They're supposed to lead the entire football team, win the entire football team, with nothing to back it up. That's very difficult for anybody to do, let alone a true freshman or a redshirt freshman. But if there's two guys that can do it in the country, it's those two guys. And I know Zach's prepared based on his past. Went to IMG, which is really like a college high school.
Right.
They live there. They play against top teams in the country, ranked teams every year. So I know he'll be just fine.
I was talking about Zack Annexstad. There have been only two true freshmen walk-on quarterbacks that we've heard ever in college football. Yeah. He's now the second. In a conference where you're going to play some tough teams, how do you keep your quarterback's confidence high whenever he's never even been in a college football game?
You've got to make sure you continue to hit home. Failing equals growth. These are young people, right? 60% of our team, 6-0, are freshmen. That's 60. We're a very, very young, inexperienced football team. And when you have a trigger man doing that you kind of hold on tight just to know what kind of mistakes is he going to make. What are the catastrophic mistakes? What are the ones you can fix immediately? So, again, it's one of those things that you know they're going to make mistakes, getting in their heads early, that failing is okay. But, again, we've got to continue to get better from those failings 1 week after another. All
right, so Zach had a big moment being named your starting quarterback for the Gopher football team. But he and his brother also had a very cool moment this weekend. Check it out. All right, that is Zach's brother, Brock, getting a scholarship earlier this week for your football team. He plays wide receiver. What can you tell us about Brock and the relationship between he and his brother that you might be able to see on the football field?
Yeah, well, first of all, they're very close, right? They come from a football background, right? Their dad played at the University of Minnesota, played in the NFL, so they have that legacy blood in them. But they both work extremely hard. Brock's a wide receiver for us. All he does is catch the football. But again, always where he needs to be, when he's supposed to be there. needs to make sure that he continues to grow, which we know he will, but he deserves it. As long as you continue to do all the right things in the program, you continue to make a difference on and off the field, and you are a team player, you have an opportunity to earn a scholarship, and there's nobody more deserving than Brock. It was kind of a unique way of doing it. You know? His brother was freaking out that he thought Zach actually had a tattoo.
Had a giant back tattoo.
Yeah, not even a tattoo, just a giant back tattoo.
I want him to commit. I wanted him to actually get a tattoo that says you're on scholarship. That's a moment you'll never forget.
Yeah,
but not that big, though. Not that big.
It's amazing if you guys get a chance to talk to Rashad Bateman, which you won't this year because he's a true freshman, but he will play a lot. You'll see a lot of him at wide receiver. He actually has a row the boat tattoo on his arm.
Oh, wow.
That's commitment.
The problem was we got it after he signed. He would have made it a lot easier for us. We wouldn't have to worry about Georgia as much.
doing
If
it
he
in
would have done it
advance.
when he committed right away, not wait till signing day.
But, yeah, so if you look at Zach, Tanner, you already said it was a tough decision. What can Tanner do? Like, what does Tanner need to work on to possibly become the starting quarterback?
I think it's just continue to get better every single day. He's one play away from being the starter. I think both of them will play at times throughout the entire year somehow, some way. You want to give your quarterbacks experience, not only just the starter but the backup. But I know that he's going to be ready. When you sit there and look at all the things, winning the team, the leadership battle, the accuracy, all of that was pretty close. And so you got to pick one, and when you start to break down the true statistics that you start to look at, there's a little separation. But again, I think Tanner's a phenomenal quarterback. He's going to be really good for the Gophers, and hopefully he gets some time to play.
You have a freshman quarterback, a lot of freshman receivers, but a senior running back, Rodney Smith, who spent a lot of time in the program. And I think you said earlier this spring, nobody has grown more perhaps as a leader from the time you got here to where we are now. It's going to be important for him to lead the rest of his young teammates. How has he developed into that great leader?
Well, the big thing is when you look around our running back room, there's Rodney Smith, and Shannon's hurt this year, but then there's all freshmen next to him. So, again, he's had to not only just be able to have him and Shannon together where they could just kind of show the way, they have to truly lead the way. Everything Rodney does, those little freshmen watch and they analyze, and they want to be like Rodney because he's had so much success. So I think the huge leadership role for him and truly being exactly who he says he wants to become, he's been held accountable for that, not only by the coaching staff, by himself, but also the young players that are looking up to him.
When I see Blake Cashman, he reminds me of an NFL kind of a box safety, nickel linebacker. How do you see him moving on and becoming that elite Big Ten linebacker / wherever you guys put him?
I think he's one of the best NFL prospects we actually have on our football team. He can play safety. He can play rush end. He can play linebacker. He's gained about 12 pounds in the offseason. He's bigger. But one thing we have to do as a defense is what Blake does really well. We have to run. Can't just run. We got to run.
Yeah.
We have to use the speed of our defense to our advantage. We have a ton of speed. We've recruited a ton of speed to join them as true freshmen and had some guys in redshirt years that are going to be adding to that. But Blake, he can run, he can tackle, he's a team guy, quiet leader. But I think everybody's in store for a big year from Blake.
You have some big-time players on that side of the ball defensively. But you look at some of the teams that you're going to be playing offensively, they're really good. New Mexico State, right out of the gate, they had 447 yards of offense, if I'm not mistaken. That's top 30 in college football. You get Ohio State. You also get teams like Northwestern, Purdue, Wisconsin, teams that put up some points last year offensively. What do you expect to see on that side of the ball when it comes to strides defensively?
Well, I think the big thing we had to be able to do was provide depth in our secondary, right? We did that. We recruited 5 defensive backs. I think 4 of the 5 will actually play this year, okay? We'll probably have maybe 2 start at some point, maybe even beginning of the year. But if we could provide that depth, we're able to do a lot of other things with the front 7. Last year, I thought we struggled in the back end. So if we did blitz, we left one-on-one on the outside, and we paid for that. This year, I think we're going to be more talented in the secondary. You get Antoine Winfield Jr. back. You have Huff back. We've done some different things with Chenault. We've added true freshman Terrell Smith at one of the corners. Keandre Thomas has gotten a lot better. And then behind them, there's some more freshmen. Tony Durst had a great offseason. So, again, we provided some more depth so we can do some other things with the front 7 that maybe last year we couldn't have done. And that's kind of how we can take that next step as a defense.
Gophers expecting some creative things, I guess you could say?
Yeah, we're going to be very creative. We're going to have to be. We're going to have to be. Some of the youth that we're going to play, and then the guys that we actually have that are coming back very fast. They can run. They can really fly around. We got to let them loose.
On offense, on the other hand, you have a young quarterback, but some pretty good weapons to work with. We're going to take a closer look at that side of the ball coming up next on this State Fair edition of the PJ Fleck Show.
You're watching the PJ Fleck Show.
And this is Smith from his own 1. Finds a seam. Smith Rodney Smith goes 99 yards on the opening kickoff.
And that's the type of explosiveness the Gophers are looking for, just like you saw from that Rodney Smith kickoff, return for a touchdown, and that win against Nebraska. Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show, everyone, alongside Coach Fleck, Ron Johnson, Justin Gard. I'm Hobie Artigue. And Coach, you got some guys that can really explode on offense, it seems like. It seems like you have the weapons. I think it starts on the side of the ball that you played, Ron.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, of course, receivers. That's where it all starts. That's the position everybody comes to watch.
I'm with you.
But if you look at Tyler Johnson, Bell, Douglas, and then Bateman, coming to practice, I was excited to see these guys. I mean, they fly around the field, they make catches, they make plays, catch the ball with their hands. What do you expect to see from that group, and especially Tyler Johnson?
Well, Tyler Johnson, I think he's taken his game to a completely different level. One thing I really think Ty has done better than he did last year, he's become a student of the game. Yeah. You know, last year it was kind of feeling each other out, making sure, like, can I trust these guys with how I want to become a better player? Do they really teach at that type of level? And then all of a sudden I thought after this year he kind of bought in 100%. And now he's such a better receiver. He's more of a technician. He understands his body. He understands how to be a better receiver all around. And then you throw in 3 freshmen around him. Very explosive players. Bateman is somebody that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about, the true freshman out of Georgia. Remember, he had a bunch of SEC offers, even his home state Bulldogs, and decided to pick here. And then you throw in Demetrius Douglas, whose father played here. He's a legacy player. And then Chris Bell, who just continues to make plays. I really think that the Gopher fans have something that they haven't had in a very long time in terms of a group of receivers who are very, very, very talented, very young, that they get to grow up together. And it's not just one guy. It's not just 2 guys. It's a group and a core of wide receivers that can hurt you all around. 2019 will add some more dynamic ones as well. Then the 18-19 class will continue to go through together. But Ty's done a great job of leading those young guys.
That's nice that you have a group, because Ron never allowed anybody else to get the ball when he played. So it's nice that they seem selfless.
That's how you got all the records.
Yeah, it's nice that they seem selfless. But Bateman, you talked about him. Georgia obviously came in really late. He's one of the most high-profile recruits you had last year in a really good class. But you don't know what they are until they really get here. So how is what you thought you were getting matched up to what you think you have now?
Well, again, he's still a true freshman. We all have to understand he's still a true freshman. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to keep growing. He's going to keep learning. He just got here.
Right.
And he didn't come here in January, so he just got here in June. But one thing is he is extremely explosive. He's got great body control. His intangibles are through the roof. Incredibly explosive playmaker, right? And he can really fly. So when you have that kind of combination, he feels like he's already a junior or a senior based on how he handles himself and maturity. But again, he's going to be one of those players that we do everything we can to get the ball to. But we got some other guys as well we got to get involved. But he's a really special player, and I think when he leaves here one day, he's got an opportunity to be really, really special.
We've already kind of touched on the running backs with what Rodney Smith has been able to do. Last year, you were all about a pair and a spare. This year, you have Rodney Smith, and then behind that, it's whoever's going to rise to the challenge. But one guy I think that I've been impressed with over in spring and carrying over to fall, Mo Ibrahim. What can you tell us about him and what he brings to the table as kind of a spell to Rodney?
Well, he's not the biggest guy. You know, he's not the strongest guy, not the fastest guy, but he's just one of the toughest running backs I've ever been around. And he just has a knack of finding the hole. The hole doesn't have to be very big for him to get through it and accelerate through it. I think he's going to be a great compliment to Rodney. You look at Bryce Williams. Bryce Williams is a true freshman from the Sarasota area. I think he's kind of separated himself a little bit in the freshman class. And then when you look towards next year with the 19 class, we've got a bunch of running backs committed too. So remember, the 18 class we just brought in is our first big class we brought in. So we've got a long way to go in recruiting. We've got a long way to go in development. But this year, I mean, Rodney's going to have some supporting cast. It's just going to be a redshirt freshman and a true freshman, kind of like all of our positions. But that's what's exciting about it. These young kids are going to get a big opportunity right away.
Yeah, and the state of Minnesota has 2 good backs coming off injuries. Dalvin Cook with the Vikings and Shannon Brooks with the Gophers, with this new redshirt rule where he can possibly play 4 games and still get his redshirt. What is that going to look like? And I know that the medical staff is going to be in your ear the whole time, but what is your thoughts around Shannon Brooks and what games to possibly bring him back for?
First thing is, you know, the number one thing we talk about is our player safety. We'll never put Shannon on the field if he's not ready to go. However, he's already taking reps, non-contact reps with us. So you're sitting there, you know, like Christmas morning, like, all right, when can he play? I'm sitting there going, look, trainer, he looks good to me. You know?
I thought I saw him in practice. My eyes didn't
He looks great. I mean, what's the problem? But he's still a long way away from being game ready. But I can see him playing towards the end of the year, middle of the year. How do we spread it out? Do we play him in a game, rest him for another game, play him the next week? That's what that redshirt rule provides. We just have to be very creative. After we get going in the season, we'll find out how it all unfolds.
I'll tell you, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin. Those three.
Coach Ron, if you ever needed some advice, there
I don't
you
need
go.
any other coaching advice. I get it from everybody at the fair. So,
Well, you've been walking around the state fair, but it's not just you here either.
Nope.
The entire team is here at the Great Minnesota Get-Together. We'll talk about the reason why they come here right before the season starts. Coming up next here on this edition of the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. Let's row the boat.
Thank you again for joining us for this special edition of the PJ Fleck Show, coming to you from the Minnesota State Fair. The first day of the State Fair. Couldn't have picked a more beautiful day. And you also have some beautiful food in front of you.
oh, absolutely.
So what do you have?
Well, I've got some German root beer. My favorite drink in the world is root beer.
Okay.
And German root beer doesn't taste any different than American root beer, but it's really good.
It's just more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
Say German, it's more expensive.
You got it. And then fried olives. Now, we got the regular fried olives,
Okay.
right? And then you've got the bacon wrap fried olives, and then you got the jalapeno fried olives. So I'm not sure what the calories or the saturated fat is in all of this, but it's really,
It's a cheat
really
day
good.
today. You could just preface it with that.
It is, and this is tremendous. So the olive lady is one of the greatest people you'll ever meet in your entire
Okay.
life. She's amazing. She's so passionate about olives.
Really?
I never met
Are you
she is as
more passionate about football, or
Oh, no,
is she more
wins.
passionate about
Oh,
olives?
she wins.
Really?
Yeah, she wins. She wins the passion award.
So last year, you were walking around the fair. It was your first time here. Is there something that you didn't do last year that you want to do this year?
We played one particular game a lot longer than I thought we would play the game. Heather was playing a game where you had to take like ping pong balls and throw them in these little, little cylinders.
balls?
Yeah, yeah,
Kind of like
yeah.
a fishbowl,
Yeah.
and they're different colors. If you get in the red one,
Yep.
yellow one. Anyway, I don't know how much money we spent on that game. But at the end, I was just like, hey, can I just give you like some money and she can get one of those? Like, no. You
gotta win.
You gotta earn
win.
it.
I'm
You
like,
gotta
I
win.
love it. And she kept throwing the ping pong balls. And no,
Did she ever win?
oh, no, she won. She hit, but she
Okay.
didn't get the right color combination.
Okay.
And I didn't
So you
understand
gotta go
the
back
right
this
color
year.
combination.
So you got to go back this year?
No, we went this year. That was different
Oh,
from
you
last
just
year.
did
really?
that.
Oh,
We
that's
just
what you
did
did already.
that. Yeah, she got
Okay.
some prizes.
Okay, so a few weeks ago, you took the team to the concert, JayZ and Beyonce, and you had a reason behind it because you wanted to see them from the perspective of a crowd.
Yeah.
What is the reason to bring them to the Minnesota State Fair?
Well, first and foremost, the millennials, right? They all call them millennials, right?
Mm-hmm.
They always want to know why, right? And as coaches, if you just send them to do something, they're going to be like, we don't really want to do it. Rather spend time on our own. The JayZ Beyonce concert was we wanted them to be able to see it from a fan's perspective. Now, we didn't tell them this originally. We told them after the fact, right? But if you go to a concert, you go to our game, and a fan see a product they love, that they're buying tickets. Same thing when you go to JayZ and Beyonce. If they come out and they trip over themselves, they forget the words, they don't sing very well, you're going to be disappointed.
Right.
Same thing on game day. So we wanted them to have that perspective here. We want them to engage with all of our fans, our state. I mean, we are the Gophers. We are the premier program in the entire state, and we want them to see all of our fans. And I want them to be able, our fans to be able to see our players without the helmet on, get to know them personally. They all wear the same shirt, so everybody recognizes them. And I want players and fans to interact and have our fans go up to our players and maybe just interact and talk.
And in year two, year two at the fair with the players and all the stuff you're doing, how have the players taken to that? Like, were they expecting to come to the fair today now? I know before you surprised them with some stuff, but this one,
Are they on to you now?
Oh, they're on to us now at the state fair because they know I'm not going to miss this.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going to come along with. They know that. They're always just asking, well, how much per diem do we get this year? That's what you got to surprise them with. But when you have to, for per diem, you got to take away another meal that they have. Right. So
I don't think they mind that.
No, they don't mind the cafeteria food being substituted with obviously fried olives and things like that.
Such a great time in the Minnesota
Yeah, I
State
mean,
Fair.
the owl's been sitting there for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you wanna make a run
Well,
at
no,
it?
I'm going to
No,
go see
don't
the
steal
olive
it off
lady
of this
myself.
plate.
I'm not going to steal his.
But we were supposed to get like alligator,
Yeah,
cheese
alligator
curds,
last
year.
Cookies
cookies.
are unbelievable.
It's gotten less
Smoothies.
exotic. Yeah, they got
See,
lemonade.
the calorie count is starting to rise now.
Will the Gophers one time, will you ever have your own like state fair booth where you do your own deal?
I think so. At some point, that's in the works. I think there's an appropriate time for that. That's coming down the road.
Okay.
There's going to be a row. There's going to be a row the boat stand.
Can you sit in a
somewhere around
boat?
here.
Can you
I
sit in a
see it
boat?
already.
Guys, I'm done sitting in boats. I've done enough.
It's over.
When I was at Canterbury Park and they made me row across that boat,
yeah.
that lake in the middle of that, that was
We're
the last
done with
time I
boats
think
here?
I've done with that for a while
Okay.
until we get to a different stage.
All right.
All right. Thank you for joining us here on this edition of the PJ Fleck Show. A week from today, the Gophers will be taking the field at TCF Bank Stadium for their first game of the season against New Mexico State. For Justin Guard, Ron Johnson, head coach of the Gophers, PJ Fleck, I'm Hobie RT. Thank you for joining us on this first edition. We'll see you next week as the Gophers get set for their first game of the season. Have a great night, everybody.